Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Nicole and I do videos around family life and just general lifestyle vlogging. And in today's video, we are talking about a topic that is close to my heart, which is Disney and in particular, how to plan a Disney World holiday. Now, I am not a Disney travel planner, but I am a Disney adult who is obsessed with Disney World, and I have been since I was 6 years old and took my first trip when I was a child. Currently, I am in the middle of planning our absolute dream family holiday to Disney World. It will be the first time the children have ever gone to Disney World, even though myself and Kieran have gone a few times in the past already, and we cannot wait. But it is a big question that I get asked all the time. Nicole, how do I plan a Disney holiday? I do not even know where to start. Where do I stay? How much money do I need? When should I go? All these questions that keep getting asked. And I just thought, do you know what? I'm going to do a video where I consolidate a lot of the information that I would share with friends and relatives on how to plan a Disney holiday and what things to consider. When I'm looking online, I know what I'm looking for and I know where to find it. But if you are new to the Disney scene and you're not a Disney adult like me and you don't live and breathe Disney, it can be a minefield to even consolidate any of this information into any understandable, fathomable information whatsoever. I don't even know what I just said then. But what I'm going to do is just share with you my thoughts on planning a Disney trip, what sort of things you need to look for when you are budgeting, and basically just how to get started. And I hope that you find this really helpful. So if you want to know how to plan a Disney holiday, stick with me. If you hear snuffle pig noises in the background, that is just my dog, and you may hear some slight snoring in the background, but she's happy, she's content, she's sleeping away. So the first thing you're going to need is a passport, right? So make sure your passport is up to date. You do not need to have 6 months remaining on your passport from the day you get back, which has been previously told. But when I spoke to our Virgin rep, she says she recommends that you do have the 6 months because this did used to be a rule and it can change in an instant. And you don't want to be caught with your passport running out in 5 months and then they're like, no, sorry, you can't come in when you've paid all this money for a holiday. So just make sure that you do have the additional 6 months on your passport from the day of you returning back to the UK. Like I said, on the government website, it doesn't say this, but things can change. You will also need an ESTA. This is like a small visa. So it's like a 2-year visa. It's valid for 2 years from the acceptance date. So if you're planning on other trips to the USA, you can use this multiple times in that 2-year period, but you will need this. And they recommend that you get it as soon as you book your holiday. But if you need to renew your passport, don't get it until you've renewed your passport because it needs to have the up-to-date passport number on this, otherwise it won't be valid. You don't have to print it off, but I have heard some stories where they've not accepted the one on the digital copy on the phone, or it wouldn't load at the airport, so it's always good to just have a paper copy just in case. So the first thing you are probably going to want to consider when planning your Disney World vacation is when to go. Like, when is the best time to go? And there are a couple of factors to put into this. If you are like me and you are traveling with school-age children, you are probably going to be restricted to school holidays. But bear in mind, this will be the busiest times of the year for the Disney World parks. It's going to be crowded any time of the year, so just get used to that now. Crowds are a given, but in the school holidays, obviously, these will be a higher time for crowds. But that's not to say that the rest of the year isn't busy. Obviously, other countries other than the USA have their own holidays and will travel to the USA to go to these amazing theme parks. So you are still going to be interacting with crowds all year round. But also, when you go in school holidays, be prepared for that price to be higher. Unfortunately, we get penalised for travelling at the peak time of year, so it will be more expensive to go in the school holidays. However, if you are going in the last 2 weeks of August, it does tend to quieten down a little because the children in the USA have their summer holidays between June and August rather than the July to September that we have in the UK. So you may find that you would go in June and it'd be a lot busier than you expect. But if you went the last 2 weeks of August, it tends to have quietened down just a tad because all of those school children will have gone back to school. You also need to consider the fact that Americans have different holidays to us in terms of like bank holidays. So recently they just had Labor Day weekend, which is like a bank holiday weekend that we would have. So it would be busier over those times. So if you're looking for a quieter time, try and avoid said holidays like 4th of July weekend, things like that. What is necessarily our bank holidays isn't their bank holidays, so you need to consider this in your planning if you are not wanting it to be as busy as it is on those days. You also need to think about the weather. Now, Florida is hot. It is a hot place. It's going to be hot. And that comes with it tropical storms because it's in a tropical climate. If you go between like July and possibly October, November, you are probably going to get hit with a big rainy season. I have been twice in August and it had a tropical storm every single day, which means power cuts, which means very wet, and it can lead to some ride closures. So it is also something to be aware of. And just because you don't go in the highest wet season doesn't mean you're not going to get those tropical storms. I went in February and it had a tropical storm just one day of the 2 weeks that I was there, but it still had a tropical storm. So that's just something to consider, that if you do go in the summer holidays, you are probably going to get hit with a lot of rainfall, and they do get hurricanes over there. They've recently had a hurricane in Florida, so this also can impact your holiday. As I mentioned, if you go any time of the year to Disney World, you are going to encounter a crowd. So if busyness of the parks is something on your radar and you're wanting to go at a quieter time of the year, January and February are probably going to be your best bets. Because it is winter in America and it is a bit cooler in Florida in those months, it tends to be a little bit quieter because it's out of any holiday season. But what you need to bear in mind is if you go in what is classed as a kind of off season, you are going to encounter some ride and attraction closures because these rides need maintaining and they want to have the least impact as possible. So they will do it on the months that they deem to be the quieter months. So even the like biggest attractions that you think would be open any time of year could possibly be closed. And also the water parks and things like that will close for maintenance at these times of year. So it's just something to bear in mind what your priorities are. Is it going to be quietness of the parks? Is it going to be making sure you see all the attractions? Is it making sure your children don't get taken out of school? Or is it trying to save a bit of money by taking kids out of school or going in those non-school vacation times? You also have things that are ticketed events that only happen at certain times of year. So currently there is Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party running. This runs August to October every single year, which you need to buy an additional ticket for. But if that's something that you really wanted to do and you wanted to experience the Halloween season, then you would be limited to those months of going. The same with Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party. This runs from November to December, just a few days before Christmas. So if you're thinking of going over the Christmas holidays, you're probably going to miss that. So it's just things to consider. If these are certain things that you wanted to do, you are restricted to those times and they're the only times that you can go and see these ticketed events. Also, when you're thinking of a time of year to go, it might be reliant on what kind of festivals are going on or other activities that are going on in the Orlando area. If you're visiting the Disney resort specifically, at Epcot they have different festivals throughout the year. So you're looking at the Musical and Arts Festival early in the year, then you have the Flower and Garden Festival for a good few months, then the Food and Drinks Festival, Food and Wine Festival, I'm not sure what the specific name is, but that is going on all throughout the year and you have different times. So if you're really into Broadway and you want to see some Broadway shows going on, you're going to be looking earlier in the year, February time. If you want to see all the characters made out of flowers and all the flower and garden stuff going on, then you're going to want to go around springtime leading up into July, summertime, when you have got the food festival going on, which runs from like July to November time, which then interlocks with all the Halloween and Christmas stuff that's going on. So again, you have that to think about. The next thing you will want to have a look at is your flights and accommodations. Now, there is a couple of ways that you can do this. You can do a joint package. You can go through a travel agent who will do your package deals such as Virgin or TUI. There are others out there that offer package deals. We are going with Virgin because that was the best offer on the market at the times. But believe me, I did do my research and looked at every other option available to get the best bang for my buck, as they say. I wanted the cheapest deal out there, but for the best holiday I could afford for my children. So I shopped around. Now, with flights, something you've got to consider is that whichever day you fly on can massively impact the price of your holiday. So for us, for example, we are going in the Easter holidays next year, but we looked at traveling on the Saturday, which was mid-Easter weekend, and that was double the price of traveling 2 days later. So we will have to take our children out of school for one day, but to save £1,000, over £1,000 each on flights for 2 days, I think I will take the day. So you've got to have a look at the different days. So if you think, right, we're going to look at this specific date and this is the price, maybe try a day or two around there and see if your flight prices go up or down. Your day may be the best day, but sometimes it's not. Your Fridays and your Saturdays and your Sundays are always going to be the more expensive times because they know people want to get back for a certain time as well. So they know they will be the most popular days to travel. If you're not too bothered though, you could probably fly on like a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and get a cheaper flight. There is a website called Skyscanner, and this allows you to monitor the different prices of flights, and you can just keep an eye on there and see what the flights are. Or you can just go direct to an airline and you can book, say, your flight with Virgin, just the flight, and then you could book your accommodation elsewhere. So there is so many different ways to do it, but I would recommend pricing up your flights and your accommodation separately and also together with multiple different places. Not only does the day in which you travel impact the price of a flight, but also the time on that day can impact the price of that flight. So if you're thinking, I want to go first thing in the morning, it may be more or less expensive than going in the afternoon. Our flight is at 10 a.m, which for me is brilliant. We don't have to be at the airport till 7 a.m, but this was the standard flight time. If we wanted to change it to later in the day, there was an actual surplus charge to change the flight time to later in the day. But I have also looked at other flights where I wanted to move them earlier in the day, and then that has been an added premium as well. So I'm not sure how they work that out, but it's something to just consider that if you're maybe needing an evening flight because you've been at work earlier in that day, then maybe an added charge because of the time of day that you are traveling. So let's talk accommodation, and this is where your head can be spinning of what kind of accommodation do I stay in, where do I go, what's going to be best for me, what is the biggest value that I'm going to see in this. Because let's face it, you are not going to be in that hotel room a lot. Like, you are going to be rope dropping till fireworks, you are going to be out of that hotel room. So is it something you really want to invest a lot of money in your stay, or do you want to save the money and put it somewhere else? You really need to weigh up what is good for you and your family. So there are a few options that you have, and then within those options, there are other multiple options, because let's not make this complicated. So initially, you have the choice of staying on Disney property. Disney World is huge. It is not just theme parks. It's not just one theme park. There is 4 theme parks, there is 2 water parks, and there is multiple hotels. And within those hotels, there is 3 levels of hotel. You have your value resort, your moderate resort, and your deluxe resort. And obviously each level comes with a higher price tag. You do get more benefits the higher up you go. So if you're staying at a deluxe resort like the Polynesian, you're going to get those extra magic hours. You're going to get just extra things like that. There are multiple benefits that you will get at all of the resorts. And one of the main ones that I see people loving is that when everyone can book a restaurant 60 days from their visit to that restaurant, you as a Disney guest can book an additional 10 days. So if you are going on the 1st of April, you can book from the 1st of February up until the 10th of February. Whereas if I was staying off-site, I can only book each individual day up until the 10th of February. So it gives me front of the line pass to get a reservation. I will be first in line to get the reservation rather than someone staying off-site. And if reservations are important to you, that might be a huge selling point as to having that benefit. There's other things such as charging things to your room, having things delivered to your room, like if you're buying souvenirs in the theme parks and getting them dropped off. A lot of things have changed where it's only the more moderate and deluxe hotels that have those, but there are a lot of conveniences such as the Disney transportation, using the buses, the Skyliners and things like that to get to the theme parks earlier. So that's a really good option if you wanted to stay at Disney. But just bear in mind that staying in Disney is going to cost you a lot more because it comes with a higher price tag, even at those value resorts, which have seen a huge price bump since the installation of the Skyliner. For those of you that don't know, the Skyliner is a form of transportation that gets from the hotels to certain theme parks. And this has become a really popular method of transportation around the Disney theme parks. You can use this as a non-Disney guest. So if you wanted to move from one theme park to another that has the Skyliner, you can do this. But obviously, if you're staying at, say, Pop Century Resort that has it at the resort, you'll be there first thing in the morning when you wake up. It's outside of your door and you can just get on over to Hollywood Studios or wherever using the Skyliner. If you didn't want to pay the hefty price tag, you have so many other options, so do not worry. If you are not familiar with the Orlando area, there is not just Disney World. You also have Universal Studios, which is a bit further north as Walt Disney, and they have their own theme parks, their own little resort, as it were, like Walt Disney World, but it is Universal Studios. So they have their own hotels. They have multiple hotels now, and it's just getting bigger each year, and they will be adding a new theme park in 2025. So this is going to be huge competition for Disney. So a lot of guests are choosing to stay there because the hotels tend to be a tad cheaper, but for brand new hotels. And if you are staying in the more premium hotels in Universal, you get included in your room a express pass, which is a basically cut the line pass, so you get to go in the express queue rather than the normal queue when you are in the theme parks. So what this has seen is a lot of guests doing a split stay between Universal and Disney because they want to visit both theme parks, both resort areas, but they're thinking, I'll do 2 or 3 days in Universal, stay at a Universal hotel for 2 nights, but you get the full 3-day express pass. And that way it saves you money, because otherwise you would have to pay for an express pass every single day for every single guest, which is very pricey. So a lot of people are doing this because that express pass is actually good value for your money to have that included in your room price. And then they are moving down to the Disney area so that they can then do all the Disney side, and they're not traveling between the 2 theme parks. Now, to travel between the 2 theme parks, I'm saying the 2 theme parks, that's like 6 theme parks in between there. To travel between the 2 resorts is around a 30-minute drive, depending. I think we did it in like 20 minutes when I was driving, so it's not that far away. But it all depends on whether you would want to pack up and move in the middle of your holiday. So that is an option. The other option would be to stay completely off-site of any resorts at all and just stay in a regular hotel, which is what we're doing, because for myself and my family, I didn't want to spend an extra £3,000 on a hotel room that I'm not going to be in. So we decided to take that money and spend that on our spending money and put it towards something else, rather than spending it on a hotel room where we can get somewhere else for £3,000 cheaper. Orlando has a massive vacation spot, so it has got a lot of hotels there, and obviously they know that they're catering for people that want to come visit Disney World and Universal and the surrounding areas. So there is a lot there. The first place I would recommend if you want to stay in the Disney area is to look around the Lake Buena Vista area, and there is a website that does offer Disney friendly hotels, so that you know you're in the Disney area and these hotels are close by, so it's not going to cost you a lot of money to and fro to the theme parks. And a lot of these hotels also offer shuttles, so you can get free transportation to the theme parks as well, so you're not missing out and paying extra for the travel expenses. A really popular destination to stay is International Drive, which is a massive road, like a massive highway, street, I don't even know what they want to call it, like an interstate, where it has got a ton of hotels. I have stayed on a hotel in here a really long time ago now, but it was just as great as staying on site at a Disney hotel. So again, you just need to think about what is good for your family. Would you prefer to get those express passes included, pay that little bit more for the hotel room, but save the money on the express passes for Universal? Do you want to have those perks at Disney where you get to book things earlier and just the added extra hours? Would you like to do a split stay and pack up halfway through the holiday and move to a different destination? Or do you think, do you know what? I'm going to save all that money on those hotels and I'm going to stay off-site and I'm going to spend my £3,000 on Disney merch. That's what I'm going to do. If you want to stay in that Disney bubble, and I've done it, it is amazing. I love the Disney hotels, and I stayed in Pop Century, which at the time was the lowest of the low value, but it's still a really great hotel, but it is no longer because of the Skyliner. But everywhere in that Orlando area is going to get you there quite quick. If you stay in the International Drive area, you're probably about 10-15 minutes away from either Disney or Universal, so it might be worth sitting somewhere in the middle of the map. So I spent a lot of time discussing the hotel options. Orlando is a massive villa holiday area. If you're going in like a big group or with lots of family members, a villa might be your better solution. You get your own private pool, you get a private area. A lot in the Kissimmee area, which is close by to Disney, have a lot of villas in that area. So this may be something for you if you're thinking, actually, we don't want to have separate hotel rooms because we've gone over the 4 people or 5 people, whatever will hold, and we don't want to pay for a suite. It's cheaper to get a villa. Or there's also Airbnb. That's one not to be overlooked. Airbnb is a great holiday rental website, and you can get a lot of different areas and housing on there, so it's always worth a look. Again, it depends whether you want to do it all by yourself or if you want to go through a travel agent and book your package all together. There is multiple different options that you can do. So to summarize, we have staying on Disney property, staying on Universal property, doing a split stay between those, or staying off-site in a hotel, a villa, or an Airbnb. You have got multiple options to fit an array of budget types. So I would recommend not just pigeonholing yourself in one and having a look around to see which you would think would suit your family the best. So you didn't think that you could just get into Disney without a ticket. Obviously, you know better than that. The tickets are expensive, and I'm not going to lie to you, they are very, very expensive, and they have gone up a lot since the last time I went there. Now, being a UK guest, we, coming from the UK, have a little privilege that other people don't have. We are allowed to buy a 14-day park pass for the price of a 7-day park pass, which will get you into all of the Disney theme parks. Whenever you want, you can park hop in the afternoons if you so wish. You can go into the parks multiple times in your 14-day period. It is a great ticket, and it is quite pricey when you think, geez, I'm paying that for a theme park ticket. But if you work it out per day, the tickets that I've just purchased for me and my family, they've cost us £2,100. But when I worked that out, that's £550 each. Yes, children's tickets are the same price as adults. So when you work out £550 divided by 14, that is less than £50 a ticket per day. If you go on the day to Magic Kingdom and just buy a day ticket, you will be paying $159 plus tax, because they don't put the full price on the label. You have to add the tax afterwards. But you're going to be paying more than $160 for a ticket to a theme park, when if you're coming from the UK, you can get that for £35-ish a day. So it does work out a lot cheaper getting that 14-day pass rather than buying individual tickets over there. You might be just going for a week. So the 7-day pass is the same price as the 14-day pass, so you'll still be paying the $2,100, which obviously works out around £100 a day. Or you could look at getting a 5-park hop when you get there. So there is 2 different types, and I'm just going to double check the prices. So for a 5-day park pass, you are looking at $374.95 plus tax. So you're probably looking at around $400 for that, which is probably around £350, $320 maybe, depending on the rate. So that is going to be your 5-day pass. That doesn't include park hop though. So if you're in Magic Kingdom and you think, oh, do you know what, this afternoon I want to go and have a reservation at Epcot because they've got this going on over there, you cannot do that. You have to pay extra to enter a different park on the same day. If you wanted to add the park hop, you're looking at $433.95 plus tax to park hop as well. So there is a big price difference there. So it might be worth still looking into the 7-day park pass that you get as a UK guest. This, however, does not include any other theme parks, and there is a lot to beholden in Orlando. I've already mentioned Universal. Universal have their own tickets, so it depends if you wanted to do this as a Disney and Universal trip. I would recommend doing this if you're going there for a few weeks. I think Universal's brilliant. And if you're a Harry Potter fan, this is where you're going to find Harry Potter. And also if you're a Marvel fan, even though Disney own Marvel, you will not find Marvel in the Disney theme parks in Florida because Universal already held the contracts to that before Disney purchased Marvel. So Spider-Man, Hulk, Thor, they're all over at Universal. You're only going to see Guardians of the Galaxy in Disney. So if you have a massive Marvel fan like we do, Universal is where the majority of that is at. Unless you go to Disneyland in like Paris and California, they have the Avengers Campus and they have the whole Disney Marvel IP, but Florida have a different contract because of Universal owning those rights beforehand, and they obviously didn't want to tear down the Hulk coaster, so they still own that. But I definitely recommend Universal as a trip out, even if you just go for one day. It is amazing, but you will want to park hop as well because Harry Potter is over the 2 theme parks. Very sneaky Universal, very good business ideas there. As a UK guest, you can buy a 3-park hopper which lasts for 2 weeks, which we have done. This also includes Volcano Bay, which is their water park, is supposed to be the best water park. Now, I've never been, so I'm excited to go to Volcano Bay. Disney have Blizzard Beach and Typhoon Lagoon, which people say are a bit dated now compared to Volcano Bay, but they are brilliant. I've been to both of those before. And if you get the unlimited park hopper pass for Disney, those are included. Whereas your 5-day park hopper passes, they're not. You have to pay extra. So that is also something to bear in mind. Oh, something else with the park hoppers for Disney, you also get the magic memory maker in there. So whenever you get a picture taken in Disney, whether it's someone standing in front of the castle taking a picture, whether it's you whizzing around on Tron and you're getting that ride picture, it all goes in your memory maker, and these are like $200 per person a day. So that's also included in your ticket. So it just adds that extra level of value for £35 a day per person. So if you're wanting to go to Universal, obviously you can pay on the door, or you can buy the park hopper passes like we have done, or you can have a look at what kind of offers they have in the US, whether they have like a 3-day pass or a 3-park pass, and you may want to buy those. And again, you can buy the express passes at Universal, which is a higher fee unless you get it included in your hotel room. So other than Disney and Universal, you also have other ticketed things that you can visit. There is tons of stuff to do in Orlando. You've got SeaWorld, you've got Discovery Cove, you've got Gatorland, you've got Crayola Experience, you've got Legoland, you could take a trip to the Kennedy Space Center, you could take a trip to Busch Gardens, you could take a trip over to the beach somewhere. You know, there is so much stuff that you can do, but I'm not going to go through all of that. The main ones for me are going to be Disney and Universal, and this is mainly Walt Disney because we're over here with our ears. So I'm not going to go in depth in those. If you want me to, I will put together a little video for you explaining all the different things. Let me know in the comments, but today we'll just focus purely on Disney and Universal. Also, in addition to your tickets that you purchase for Disney, there are optional add-ons. So there are extra tours that you can do. There are things you can book within the theme parks. Again, all at an added cost. And I'll do a separate video breaking down each of these and telling you how much they cost and what you get included in those, so that you know whether it's something you want to add on or not. The next thing you'll be thinking about once you've picked when you're going, you've picked where you're going to stay, and you know what dates that you're flying on now, and you've got your tickets for Disney and you've planned your days out, but how are you going to get there once you're in Orlando? There are, again, multiple things that you can do. One of the very popular things to do in America is to car hire. We have done it before, and it is the scariest experience I ever had for the first couple of days. I was like 21, I think, driving around in a Mustang, which was shooting me off at 100 miles an hour. And I was like, oh my God, what am I doing on the wrong side of the road, on the wrong side of the car, in an automatic for the first time? I'm going to kill us. But after a day of driving around, I thought it was really easy to drive in America. The roads are a lot simpler set out than the UK, and they're a lot wider than ours. If you can navigate down a country lane, you can drive in the USA, no problem. But with that comes your hire, your insurance, the fuel. So you also have to pay for parking at your resort, parking at the theme parks. So there is a lot of added cost with that. It's not just the car rental, but that is one option. There's also a lot of airport to resort transportation, and this is included in your resort fee, or sometimes it's an added premium at your resort. So there's also the option of that. And then you can do the shuttles from your resort to the theme parks, depending on where you're staying. If you're staying on Disney property, you have no worries when it comes to getting around Disney, because you've got all the Disney buses that go to the different hotels and things like that. So it's mainly if you're staying off property, how you were going to get there, you would need to think about. But a lot of hotels, like I said, offer a free shuttle to the theme parks. You just need to check what time of days these go to make sure that these are suitable for you and your family. If you don't want to hire a car, the next option would then be to look at taxis. So they have apps like us, like Uber, or you've got Lyft, spelled Lyft, and these are trusted taxi companies in which you can obviously just get the app, you book your taxi, and it takes you to wherever you need to go. But just bear in mind that you will be paying these taxi fees, and you also need to tip on these. If you don't tip, you could result in negative feedback, which then would prevent you getting picked up from a future taxi driver who would see your negative feedback and not come and take the job. So always make sure to tip your driver. I have it on trusted advice that someone who stayed for 21 days in Orlando, they used the Lyft app every single day, going to and from the theme parks, to shopping centres, to the airport and back, and they spent $450 in total on transportation, which I think is relatively reasonable. We were looking at £7 for a car hire, and that's just the car hire, nothing else. So I think that $450 is relatively reasonable for all that transportation. So we are going to be doing the Lyft apps, and when I get back from Florida, I will give you my thoughts on how much we used it and how much it cost us, so I can give you an exact measurement of amount of money so that you know how you can budget a little bit better. Obviously, I'm not being exact on this because we've not been yet, and prices can fluctuate, and obviously in pounds the exchange rate can fluctuate as well, so you never know exactly how much that's going to be. What is said that the average cost is that if you are coming from the airport to a hotel, you're looking at around $25 each way plus a tip. And then if you were just going about your day, it's probably going to be around $15 a day to and from your hotel room. Maybe a little bit more if you go into different places throughout, but that's what the average is sort of working at. So it's like $15 there, $15 back. So you're looking at like $30 a day for those trips. So it's just averaging that out over the time that you're going to be there, and maybe adding on a little extra just for those tips and any emergency travels that you need to make. So none of the hotels at Disney provide meals included, and you're probably not going to find that many places unless you hit like a bed and breakfast or what have you. But if you are staying on Disney property from January 2024, you will be eligible to get the Disney meal plan. The Disney dining package will be back. And I have previously used it before and found it really good value for money. There are going to be two types of dining packages. So you will have the quick serve dining package. This will allow each person to have 2 quick service meals a day, 1 beverage, non-alcoholic or alcoholic a day, 1 snack, and a refillable resort mug. So you have to pay for the Disney dining package for your entire trip that you are at Disney. So if you're there for 2 weeks, you will need to pay for it for the 2 weeks for each person in your party. If one of the people didn't want to join in, tough luck, you all have to pay it. So that is just one downside to that you don't have the options of opting anyone in or out, or not having a day if you felt like you wanted to eat out for a day. Say you was going to Universal for the day and you're eating over there, you're still paying for it for that day. So you are missing out on those meals for that day. So this is also the same with the dining package, which again includes 1 quick service meal and 1 table service meal, 1 drink, 1 snack and a resort refillable mug. But this one is going to be more expensive because it includes a table service restaurant. There is a full list of all the restaurants you can use this on. So if there's restaurants that you are wanting to go to and the dining plan is including those restaurants, this might be a really good option for you. And I will link below the link to the website where it has the full list of all the restaurants. But some of these table services are ones that include like character dining, like Akashus in Epcot, which is somewhere where we are going to be going with all the princesses. That is included in the Disney dining package. So that might be worth it for yourself. If you're wanting to eat at Disney property, but you are not staying on site or you don't want to do the dining plan, then you can still eat at all the restaurants as long as you have your booking or there's a table available. But you are going to be paying quite a lot of money for some of those restaurants. If you are looking at a character dining, you are looking at around $100 per person for that meal. Some of the other restaurants are a bit cheaper, but when it's a table service, I would probably budget around $60 to $100 per person plus tax, because you always got to add this tax and tip. There's a tip as well. You need to add all that on top. So it's just to think around that something that would be $60 is probably going to be more like $80 because of the tip and the tax on top of that. If you are looking to only eat at quick service restaurants, so these are ones that are more like a cafeteria vibe, or a go up to a window and get a meal, or a quick sit down in the picnic areas, those types of meals, you're looking between $10 to $50 per person for a meal. And a lot of these look really great for sharing. When I'm there, I will show you some of the things that we get so you can have a look what is available, and I will give you my honest opinion on whether we think they are worth buying or worth the try, or whether it was a big waste of money. So I will let you know, don't you worry. You can make your own food and you can take that in the parks. There is no rule against this, but you will still obviously need to budget for this. You can make it a lot cheaper. You're probably looking around $40 a day if you're gonna go to a shop and bring your own lunches in there. But then just bear in mind, it is hot and you'll be carrying that food on you, so it might not last very well unless you bring a cooler, and they are restricted in the sizes of the cooler bags. So just make sure it's something that you can maybe fit in a backpack, or you're not going to be bothered about carrying it around all day until you're eating. That's just another thing to think about. So again, you can eat off-site. Depending where you want to eat, you're probably looking between $20 to $100 per person, maybe even more depending on where you go. But majority of places you've got around the area, you've got things like Denny's and IHOP and Olive Garden. Olive Garden is great. Cheesecake Factory, Chick-fil-A, McDonald's. You have all sorts of options that are not restricted to the theme park that you can go and eat at. You may also want to bring your own snacks. Snacks in the park are very expensive for what they are. And, you know, it's great to get those little Mickey rice cakes or what have you, but do you really want to spend $10 on a rice cake when you can bring some in from Target or wherever that costs like $1, whatever the prices are? So that's something to think about as well. We are going to be loading up at Target and getting all our snacks to keep the kids sustained throughout the day. And then we will be eating quick service and sit down meals throughout our stay. So I will share with you all of our feedback once we get back, so you know what we think. Not just me, but Kieran as well. He's really fussy, so you'll get a full honest opinion. So Disney offer Genie Plus, which is a planning service, but aspects of Genie Plus do have a fee. And this is to give you a kind of a queue jump pass through the Fast Pass queue. And you have to purchase Genie Plus, and then you will select your rides. Not all rides are included in Genie Plus, and you're not guaranteed to get one of the rides that are included in that day, because it depends how busy it is. They can only let so many people have the Genie Plus, and once you've purchased it and there's no going back. So some people love Genie Plus, they think it's a lifesaver. It's a lot cheaper than the Express Pass at Universal, but the Express Pass at Universal is for all rides, whereas the Genie Plus is only for the rides that you have picked out that day. So even if all of the rides are full, it will still let you purchase Genie Plus, whereas Universal will stop selling the Express Pass once so many of them have been sold for that day. There is also lightning lanes at Disney. So when you get Genie Plus, this gives you the access to the lightning lanes for the rides that it's available for. There are some rides that are not on Genie Plus but have their own individual lightning lane, which is an individual fee for that specific ride. Or if you didn't want to buy the full Genie Plus package for the day, you could just buy an individual lightning lane if it was for like one ride, and that could probably save you money. But overall, that would probably end up costing more than if you'd have purchased Genie Plus for the day, if that makes any sense. I could probably do a whole video on Genie Plus because it is quite a bit of a deep dive investigation into understanding it. I've done a lot of research on what Genie Plus is and how it works out and how the individual lightning lanes work and which rides are on there. But again, this is going to add an extra $20 to $30 on top of your initial cost. There are now going to be set fees for Genie Plus because it used to go up and down depending on how busy it was at the theme park, but they were looking at putting set fees in place. And if you wanted a park hopper Genie Plus, then you can also pay extra for this as well. But I would keep an eye on those prices because they're subject to change at any time. I've seen them on the website for like $35 on a day, and I've also seen them for $17 on a day for the same theme park. So that can just adjust at any time depending on availability. So I've already mentioned tax quite a lot, that your tax price isn't within the listed price on something that you're purchasing. But you also will have tips. America is very big on their tipping culture. Sometimes I don't get it, but I understand that it's their culture and I'm visiting their country. So I just tip accordingly. And obviously, if you feel that your service was really, really poor, then obviously that's something to consider not tipping, or not tipping as much as you would normally do. But I will say from experience, every visit I've had to the USA, and I've visited the USA a lot over the years, the service is out of this world because they rely on those tips. So they will give you outstanding service every time. And I've always thought, do you know what? I'm happy to tip this person. So it depends on you as a person, but just be aware that people have been pulled in restaurants for not tipping. People have had taxis not come to them on the Lyft or Uber app because they didn't tip. And it's just bad karma, isn't it? Like, come on, tip your waiter. Tip your cleaning people, tip the people that carry your bags, things like that. It's just common courtesy and it is their culture. So I know some people are like, oh, well, we don't do that in our country. But there's plenty of things that other countries don't do that we do. So it's about going in that culture and learning. So I would set some money aside for tips. Let's just break down everything so far that you've needed to purchase for this holiday. So you have bought your passport, you've bought your ESTAs, you've bought your flights, you've bought your hotel room, you have paid for your transportation in whichever way you're going to do it, or you've budgeted for it. You've also budgeted for your food and you have paid for your tickets. What is left to pay for? Well, this is Disney World. There is a lot of merch. There are a lot of shopping outlets that you want to go to. They sell different things over there than we get over here. It is a shopping heaven. I have absolutely loved shopping in the USA in the past. I know it's a bit different now because the rate to the pound to the dollar isn't as good as it once was, which is really a shame because we used to get like Nike trainers for £10. It was brilliant. I got a pair of Ugg boots for £20 from New York. Like, that was my biggest bargain ever. But there is so much you could buy. There is so much merchandise, and especially if you're going with kids, they're going to want everything and anything. And if this is a dream holiday for you, it's a once in a lifetime, you might want to think about saving up some extra money so that you have that option of buying those souvenirs or the merchandise that the kids want. The merchandise is a lot of money, so if you don't want to be spending on everything willy-nilly, maybe pick a certain character, or maybe think we get one thing from this store. You also have things like Walmart and Target and the outlets that sell like last season Disney stuff or their own version of Disney stuff, which is just as good as the stuff that's in the theme parks. So if you wanted to take a trip to the Disney outlets and pick up last season's merch and bring that back, that is just as good as getting it from the theme parks when it's still full price. It's just how you want to do it, but just bear in mind, especially if you're going with kids, that they're going to want stuff, so it might be worth saving that bit of extra money or letting them take their own little budget of money that they can buy their own merchandise with, and it can be really fun. Looking in the shops in Disney is just incredible. It's one of my favourite pastimes to do when I'm there. And as you can see, we love the Disney ears over here. So that is it from me today, everyone. I really hope this video helped you. I'm sorry if I waffled on a lot because I just love Disney so much. I love traveling to the USA. I think it's brilliant. And I could just go on and on forever. I tried to concise it down as best I can, but I will do some other planning videos for you all. I will talk you through some things at Disney, like the Disney theme parks, and also what is the added extras that you can purchase, where I can go into a bit more detail because I didn't want this video to be too long. This is just to get you started to think about what you need to book and what sort of prices you're going to be looking at. I hope you found it helpful. I really enjoyed making this video, and I hope you stick around to see more Disney travel planning videos from me. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.